And as for Byleth, I would go with Byleth over Edelgard, even though I want Edelgard more than anything. Mainly because Edelgard, you really get to know the most with her playthrough. You can have different types of playthroughs in Fire Emblem Three Houses and basically get a different story from a different perspective. So because everyone will have a different perspective and a different experience of the characters, really the only fair way to go is to go with Byleth because he's the main character. Otherwise, there'll be some people who only know a little bit about Claude and know a lot about Edelgard or Dimitri. So Byleth really is the one that makes the most sense. What if a big Nintendo fighting game actually got Nintendo characters added as DLC? Welcome everyone, this is AndresRestart. And I just want to say that I kind of understand why some people are upset about another Fire Emblem character being added to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm not upset. I personally am kind of excited about the character. It definitely wasn't my first or second choice, but Byleth I think kind of makes sense because it appeals to all the different Three Houses fans, and it is a different character because it is including all of the relic items. But still, a lot of people wanted another third-party character, or at least a more popular Nintendo character. I kind of understand that. But I want to say that the inclusion of Byleth has very interesting implications moving forward for the rest of the DLC for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The reason I had that flashback in the beginning of the video was to show how I've been talking about for quite some time that even though the precedent that was set beforehand was that it would all be third-party, that it would still be possible that we could get a Nintendo character in a Nintendo fighting game. And sure enough, that is exactly what has happened. Despite all the conversation, despite what so many people would have had you believe, Nintendo characters will be coming to this DLC, and I do not think Byleth is the last of them. The inclusion of Byleth shows that it's going to be really hard to predict what's going to be happening. There are so many possibilities here, and any sort of preconceptions or rules that people have established aren't necessarily true. Save for the one rule where Sakurai has brought up on several occasions where it has to be a character with video game origins, so Iron Man or Goku are out of the picture. Pretty much any video game character has a chance to be added into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, it seems. And the whole Byleth situation is a really good example of how Nintendo is really great at subverting our expectations. Everyone, myself included, thought that the Game Awards was definitely the time to reveal the final character in the Fighter's Pass. That did not happen. And when that didn't happen, I thought, if it wasn't at the Game Awards, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe it's not the kind of character that would really go over well in that sort of space. And then we all sort of expected that the reveal would happen in a Nintendo Direct because besides the Game Awards, every single Smash character for Smash Ultimate for the DLC has been revealed in a Nintendo Direct. Except Nintendo again subverted our expectations, and they did not have a Nintendo Direct to reveal the final Smash character, but rather its own Smash presentation talking about and breaking down the character right after its reveal. Not what any of us expected, but the point is, Nintendo will break the trends. They won't just follow every single pattern. And while I do think patterns are really important to look into because they can sometimes give us an idea of what could happen, we also have to take into consideration that patterns can be broken, just like with the inclusion of Byleth. That's what can happen. Fighter Pass Volume 2 is going to have 6 characters, and I don't think there are any hard rules besides the video game origin rule that will hold back characters. There's so many possibilities here, and I think it's very, very exciting. Now, while there may not be any hard rules, I do think there are some potential hints that could give us an idea as to what could be happening. So first off, I just want to say that with Byleth included, I think that proves that Nintendo characters can definitely happen, and the plan isn't to have it all entirely third party. That's not happening. The Fighter's Pass Volume 2 is going to have a mix of Nintendo and third party characters. I feel like that's a really, really safe bet. So then what kind of mix could we be looking at? Is it just going to be one Nintendo character and 5 third-party characters, 2 Nintendo characters and 4 third-party characters, 3 and 3? What's it going to be? Kind of hard to say, but I definitely think it's going to be kind of a mix. Maybe 1 or 2 are going to be actually first-party characters, and then maybe 1 or 2 are going to still be third-party but very Nintendo-esque. And then the rest are going to be third-party characters from really big franchises that bring in an even larger audience into Super Smash Bros. I think that's definitely how it could sort of play out. So then, going beyond that, what else can we glean from the presentation that could give us an idea as to what could be happening? Well, there was one point in the presentation where Sakurai was talking about how initially he was thinking about doing 1 or 2 more DLC characters beyond the Fighters Pass.
I had thought that 1 or 2 might suffice, but...
So that leads me to believe that Sakurai may have had 1 or 2 characters actually in mind that he wanted to be in the game. Let's remind ourselves that it wasn't Sakurai that chose the Fighters Pass. It was Nintendo, and Sakurai simply approved certain characters. The way it was suggested that maybe Nintendo suggested like a few characters, and Sakurai was like, okay, these will work. These are the ones we're going to be putting into the game. So maybe it wasn't Sakurai's choice to put another Three Houses character. Maybe it was Nintendo because they thought it was a very good marketing decision. So for those who are angry at Sakurai for putting another Fire Emblem character, maybe it wasn't his fault. And I feel like at the very least the character looks pretty fun. That said, what are these 1 or 2 characters that Sakurai may have had in mind? Maybe. I could just be looking too deep into this. Certainly possible. But either way, it is a known fact that there have been some characters in the past that Sakurai definitely considered to be made as playable characters, but they didn't make the cut. And I'm thinking that some of those characters were some of the characters that Sakurai was perhaps suggesting in the presentation. Who could those be? Well, one I have in mind is Rex and Pyra. Sure, a lot of people may argue that Rex and Pyra were deconfirmed in the Final Smash Direct before release. But look at what happened with Byleth. Everyone believed, and when I say everyone, I'm obviously exaggerating, but the majority of people thought that it had to be another third-party character. There are no hard rules. Rex and Pyra could happen if that's what Sakurai wants and he's responsible for more of the choices made for Volume 2 in the Fighters Pass, then I would definitely think that Rex and Pyra could for sure happen because Sakurai himself noted how he wanted them into the game, and the only reason they didn't make it in was due to time constraints, and instead he gave us a Mii costume, some spirits, and some music. But now time has passed. Sure, with the first Fighters Pass, the little promotion for getting it was the Rex Mii costume, but for Fighters Pass 2, that is not the case. I think now is definitely their chance to make it in. And of all of the actual first-party characters that are left over, Rex and Pyra are pretty much one of the main ones left that could be added that would definitely excite a lot of people. So I think Rex and Pyra have a very good chance to be added in Volume 2 for the Fighters Pass. Now there's another character that isn't technically Nintendo, but definitely Nintendo-esque, that a lot of people have been wanting. It's a long-time fan-requested character, similar to King K. Rool or Ridley or Banjo-Kazooie, and that character is Geno from Super Mario RPG. Sakurai at one point wanted to get him into Super Smash Bros., and then in Smash 4, we got him as a Mii costume. He had his own splash screen. Definitely, Geno was the biggest, most important Mii costume back in Smash 4. And of all the Mii costumes that have made a return to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Geno is not one of them. It's strange. And considering the possibility that this time around Sakurai may have more of a hand in the actual character choices for the second Fighters Pass, I think Geno has a really good chance because he wanted them in there beforehand. So I'm thinking that Rex and Pyra and Geno could be potentially those 1 or 2 characters that Sakurai may have been suggesting, or at least had in mind before he decided to go with a whole 6 for Volume 2 of the Fighters Pass. But what about beyond that? Well, to tell you the truth, I'm not necessarily ready to make predictions for everything, like hard predictions where I feel super confident that this is 100% legit the list. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of different possibilities, but there is one more character that I feel really confident about making it into the Fighters Pass, and that character is Rayman. Why Rayman? Well, Rayman's a really big, popular third-party character from Ubisoft, and Ubisoft has had so many partnerships and collaborations with Nintendo. I would say they work with Nintendo more than any other third-party company, and yet they don't have a playable character. Capcom does, Sega does, Namco does, Square Enix does. So many other companies have a playable character in Smash Bros., but Ubisoft does not. They did, however, get some Mii costumes in the most recent presentation with Assassin's Creed and Rabbids, yet no Rayman Mii costume. Why? Sure, Rayman's already a spirit, but I don't think spirits really deconfirm characters, and actually, I didn't even get into that argument yet. Let's make it right now, because I'm sure some people will say that, oh, Rex is a Mii costume, Geno is a spirit, and Rayman's a spirit, so they can't make it in. Well, what about Lucas from Smash 4? He was a trophy, which takes a lot more effort than a spirit, because a spirit is just a PNG file, and Lucas was added as DLC. I don't think that spirits hold back characters. Now, to be clear, if a spirit event happens shortly before the end of a fighter's pass. So for example, with Astral Chain, I would say Astral Chain probably shouldn't expect anything from that anytime soon. Same with Resident Evil. But the spirits for Geno and Pyra and Rayman were in the base roster for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. We are talking about the DLC, a separate development cycle. We're talking about the second volume, not even the first volume for the DLC. So I definitely think these spirits could get upgrades and be playable characters. So in my opinion, I think Rex and Pyra, Geno, and Rayman are very likely choices for Volume 2 of the Fighter's Pass. But what about the other three? Well, this is where I'm still not very confident in. I think these other three spots could honestly go to so many potential characters. There's Reimu, and Dante, and Lara Croft, and Sora, all very loved and cherished characters that definitely would be a great fit in Super Smash Bros., and they all could maybe make it in, perhaps. And I haven't even talked about the Bethesda interview with Nintendo, how they were in talks with Nintendo for something related to Smash Bros., and we haven't seen anything come of that yet. Maybe we could see Doom Guy or some character from Skyrim. I think that's definitely another really awesome possibility. And then of course there are other characters that have supposedly been leaked, for example Crash Bandicoot and Ryu Hayabusa. Also characters that would be a really good fit. They are very important with gaming history, and they could both have a very unique and awesome moveset, so I'd be all for it, and they'd be great additions to the Fighter's Pass. But to complete the list for today, even though it's not necessarily going to be a hard list, I'm going to give you guys characters that I think make sense, but of course could very definitely be wrong, but I think it would be a nice list. And could potentially turn out to be the case. Potentially. There are so many possibilities, I'm sure I'm going to be wrong here, but I'm still going to go ahead and put out my 6. So, of course the first 3, Rex and Pyra, Geno, and Rayman. But then, I also think maybe Travis Touchdown for No More Heroes 3. No More Heroes 3 is coming out this year. Sakurai and Suda51 have a relationship. Travis Touchdown is basically synonymous with Nintendo, a very Nintendo-esque character, but still technically third party. And I do believe Nintendo is trying to push No More Heroes 3 this year because they did have No More Heroes 3 as a trailer at the Game Awards, a very big venue. They really wanted to get that game some publicity. And the game's coming out this year, and it would be a really cool character to have in Smash Bros. That honestly has been a character that's been requested by a lot of Nintendo fans for quite some time. So I think Travis Touchdown would be a really good fit and could definitely happen. And now another character that I would say is similar to Travis Touchdown, that's a third-party character that's been wanted for quite some time, that would also really complement the rest of the roster, would be Shantae. Shantae has had many games solely on Nintendo, and is such a loved and cherished character. And on top of that, we don't have too many female characters in the DLC, and of all the potential female characters we could have, I would say Shantae would be the most interesting. So I'm going to pull for Shantae making it into the actual Fighter's Pass, despite the fact that she's already a spirit in the game. And for my final spot, I'm going to predict another first-party character, because technically, besides Rex and Pyra, all the characters I've predicted for the Fighter's Pass are third-party. So then, who could be another Nintendo character that could be added? Well, I'm going to be making another video on this because I did notice a lot of really cool hints here. I don't want to make this video go too long, but I do think maybe there could be a Zelda character. Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out at the end of this year potentially, I think at least, and if not, definitely sometime the year after, and this Fighter's Pass is due to be over December 2021, almost 2 years from now. At some point during this DLC cycle, Breath of the Wild 2 for sure is going to come out, assuming it's not delayed to Kingdom Come, which is possible, but I would say highly unlikely. And if that's the case, maybe Nintendo will want to have a character from Breath of the Wild 2 in the game. So it wouldn't shock me if we got another Zelda character. Now maybe it's not going to be another Zelda character, maybe there's another game that's going to come out sometime between now and December 2021 that will be represented in the Fighter's Pass, just like Fire Emblem 3 Houses for the first Fighter's Pass. It came out during the DLC cycle, and the game got its representation at the very end. Maybe something else could happen, maybe another game is going to be coming out that we don't even know about yet, that will have a character to come out in the Fighter's Pass. Perhaps. And actually, I will bring up a character that I think could maybe happen. So, I think there's a possibility this character could really be pushed into the spotlight this year. This is a character that we've been told by the director for its particular game that would have a great influence in the next version that is coming out. And the character I'm talking about is Sylux from Metroid Prime. You see, Silex was following Samus at the end of Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, and there's a lot of rumors suggesting the Metroid Prime trilogy could finally be coming out. I think it will definitely come out this year, not to mention, it's been said by Kensuke Tanabe, the director for Metroid Prime, that Silex is going to play a vital role in Metroid Prime 4. And Metroid Prime 4 may very well finally get a gameplay teaser this year, maybe? Or at least next year. At some point during either 2020 or 2021, I expect to get some sort of reveal for Metroid Prime 4, and Silex may be playing a very vital role to the game. Either way, I think at least Metroid Prime Trilogy will have come out at some point during this time, and he does play a role at the end of Metroid Prime 3. So it wouldn't shock me if Nintendo really wants to push the Metroid series to get to the heights of Fire Emblem or Zelda or Mario as it deserves by including another Metroid character, and that character perhaps being Silex. So this is my personal list of characters that I think make sense and could maybe happen, but of course there are so many possibilities. Rex and Pyra, Geno, Rayman, Travis Touchdown, Shantae, and Silex. But who do you guys think could be coming in Volume 2 for the Fighters Pass in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways everyone, this is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon.